You know the feeling of being completely emptied out. It is that heavy, quiet exhaustion that settles into your bones after you have spent years trying to make someone understand your heart, only to realize they were never really listening. You gave your patience, your empathy, and your endless willingness to compromise, hoping that if you just loved them enough, they would finally see your worth. But instead of feeling loved in return, you were left feeling confused, depleted, and constantly questioning your own reality. You walked on eggshells, adjusting your behavior to manage their moods, believing that if you could just get it right, the connection would stabilize. When the relationship finally ended, or when they pulled away, it felt like a profound rejection. You were left holding all the emotional baggage, wondering what you did wrong, wondering why your best efforts were never enough, and carrying a deep, lingering pain that makes it hard to trust your own judgment. I want to start by telling you something very clearly, and I need you to let it sink in. You were not the problem. The confusion, the exhaustion, and the constant feeling of walking on a tightrope were not the result of you being too sensitive, too demanding, or too flawed. The situation you were in was built on a fundamental imbalance. You were operating from a place of genuine connection, while the other person was operating from a place of control and self-preservation. You were playing a completely different game, and no amount of love or effort on your part could have fixed a dynamic that was designed to serve only one person. To understand what happens after you walk away, we have to look at the psychological machinery behind the relationship. When a person with strong narcissistic traits loses someone like you, they eventually experience a form of regret. But it is crucial to understand that their regret is not what you might hope it is. It is not the deep, empathetic remorse of someone who realizes they hurt the person they love. It is not a sudden awakening to your value as a human being. Their regret is rooted entirely in a loss of supply and a loss of control. Throughout the relationship, you served a specific function. You provided emotional regulation, validation, patience, and a steady source of admiration. You absorbed their negativity and reflected back a positive image of them. When you leave, that mirror is shattered. They are suddenly left alone with themselves. And for someone who relies entirely on external sources to feel okay, that internal void is terrifying. The regret they feel is the realization that they have lost a highly effective tool for managing their own fragile ego. They miss the way you made them feel, not because they love you, but because they love the reflection you provided. This psychological reality explains the behavior you often see after the discard or after you initiate no contact. They may reach out. They may send a message that seems nostalgic, or they might suddenly show interest in your life again. Sometimes they will express a version of sadness or claim that they miss you. To the outside observer, or to a heart that is still healing, this looks like a breakthrough. It looks like they finally realize what they lost, and that they are genuinely sorry. But if you look closely at the pattern, you will see that this regret is highly self-serving. It usually appears when their new source of supply is not working out, or when they are facing a period of boredom or low self-esteem. They are not reaching out because they have done the deep internal work required to change. They are reaching out because they are hungry, and they know exactly where the easiest meal used to be. They regret losing you because you were reliable. You were empathetic. You were willing to look past their flaws and give them the benefit of the doubt. Losing someone with your level of emotional depth is a significant blow to their ego, because people with your qualities are rare, and they know on some level that they cannot easily replicate the dynamic they had with you. Understanding this distinction is vital for your healing, because their version of regret can be incredibly damaging to your recovery if you misunderstand it. When they show this fake remorse, It triggers a very specific emotional response in you. It creates false hope. It restarts the cycle of confusion. You start to analyze their words, looking for the genuine apology you never got during the relationship. You might find yourself thinking that if they are sad now, it means the love was real, or that they are finally capable of change. This is a trap. It pulls you out of your clarity and drags you back into the emotional fog. You start to wonder if you were too harsh in leaving, or if you should give them another chance. This reaction is completely normal. When you have been subjected to intermittent reinforcement, where kindness and cruelty are mixed unpredictably, your brain becomes wired to seek the reward of their affection. When they show a glimpse of regret, your brain registers it as a reward, and the urge to reconnect becomes overwhelming. But you must recognize that this feeling is a trauma response, not intuition. Their regret is about their unmet needs, not your inherent worth. You do not need their apology to validate your pain. Your experience in the relationship was real, and the fact that they only miss you when it is convenient for them does not erase the value of what you brought to the table. Let us look deeper at why they cannot feel genuine remorse, because understanding this frees you from the burden of trying to fix them. Genuine remorse requires empathy. It requires the ability to step outside of your own perspective and truly feel the pain you have caused another person. It requires looking at your own flaws, accepting responsibility, and being willing to change your behavior. A person operating from a narcissistic framework simply does not have the psychological architecture for this. Their ego is too fragile to tolerate the shame that comes with admitting they were wrong. If they admit they hurt you, they have to admit they are flawed. And to them, being flawed is unacceptable. So, their mind automatically rewrites the narrative. They cast themselves as the victim. They convince themselves that you were too difficult, that you pushed them away, or that you never really understood them. This is why their regret never leads to actual change. Even when they say they are sorry, the underlying message is always conditional. It is always followed by a subtle blame shift. They regret the consequences of losing you, but they do not regret the actions that caused the loss. Recognizing this is a turning point. It allows you to stop waiting for an apology that they are psychologically incapable of giving. It allows you to close the door on the hope that they will suddenly wake up and see things your way. You have to accept that they will never understand the depth of the pain they caused, and that their lack of understanding is a reflection of their limitations, not a reflection of your worth. As you begin to accept this reality, you can start the process of shifting your awareness. This is where you step back emotionally and begin to observe the situation without getting pulled into the drama. You stop looking at their actions as a reflection of your value and start looking at them as data. When they reach out with a message designed to pull you back in, you do not have to feel a surge of panic or hope. You can simply look at it and recognize it for what it is, a bid for attention. You can see the pattern clearly. You see that they only want you back when they are empty, and that they will discard you again the moment they are full. This clarity is incredibly empowering. It takes the power away from their words and places it firmly in your hands. You realize that you are not missing them. You are missing the illusion of who you thought they were. You are mourning the potential of the relationship, not the reality of it. The reality was a constant state of anxiety, walking on eggshells, and giving until you had nothing left. You do not need to go back to that. You have outgrown the dynamic, even if they have not. Moving into this space of awareness naturally leads to empowerment. Empowerment in this context does not mean fighting back, exposing them, or trying to make them feel the pain they caused you. True empowerment is calm detachment. It is the quiet, unshakable decision that you will no longer participate in your own depletion. It is setting a boundary not just with them, but with your own mind. When the thought arises that you should check on them, or that you should explain your feelings one more time so they finally understand, you gently, but firmly, redirect your attention back to yourself. You choose peace over being right. You choose your mental health over their temporary validation. This level of detachment is not about being cold or bitter. It is about protecting your energy. It is about recognizing that your empathy, your patience, and your love are valuable resources, and you have the right to decide who gets access to them. By denying them access, you are not punishing them. You are simply honoring yourself. You are stating, without words, that you respect yourself too much to be used as an emotional placeholder. As you maintain this calm detachment, you will notice a profound shift in your internal world. The heavy exhaustion that you carried for so long begins to lift. The constant need to analyze their behavior fades because you no longer care enough to figure them out. You realize that their regret, their hovering, and their attempts to pull you back in are entirely their problem to manage. It is not your job to soothe their ego, and it is not your job to fix the void inside them. You can watch them struggle with the consequences of their own actions without feeling the need to intervene. This is the ultimate reclamation of your self-respect. You step out of the role of the caretaker and the savior, and you step into the role of the author of your own life. You begin to rebuild the parts of yourself that were neglected during the relationship. You rediscover your interests, your boundaries, and your inner voice. You learn to trust your intuition again because you proved to yourself that you could walk away from a situation that was no longer serving you, even when it was painful. Healing is not a straight line, and there will be days when the grief feels heavy again. There will be moments when the silence feels loud, and you might wonder if you made the right choice. In those moments, I want you to remember the exhaustion you felt at the end. Remember the feeling of being completely unseen and unvalued. Remind yourself that the pain of leaving was sharp and immediate, but the pain of staying would have been a slow, quiet erosion of your soul. You chose the sharp pain of growth over the dull ache of stagnation. That takes immense courage. You are rebuilding your foundation, brick by brick, and it is okay if it takes time. Every day that you choose not to engage with their manipulation is a victory. Every time you redirect your focus to your own well-being, you are rewiring your brain to expect peace instead of chaos. You are teaching yourself that you are safe, that you are worthy of consistent love, and that you do not have to earn your place in someone's life through endless sacrifice. Ultimately, the biggest regret of someone who operated this way is that they lost someone who could have loved them deeply, if only they had been capable of receiving it. But their regret is not your concern. Your concern is your own peace, your own growth, and your own future. You have survived the storm, and you have come out the other side with a deeper understanding of yourself and your boundaries. You know now what you will not tolerate, and you know the immense value of your own heart. Walk forward with that knowledge. Hold your head high, not in arrogance, but in the quiet confidence of someone who knows their worth. The chapter is closed. The lesson is learned, and the rest of your life belongs entirely to you. You are free. You are whole. And you are finally ready to receive the kind of love that does not require you to lose yourself to keep it.